Hello, welcome back, Rebecca Lamb. Break her silence about the deep tensions and troubling secrets hidden within the Daystar Television Network. In a shocking and emotional confession, Rebecca revealed painful truths about a long-standing rift in the Lamb family, particularly involving her husband JW, and their struggle against a system that sought to silence them for years. Rebecca and JW had been living under the crushing weight of a non-disclosure agreement, or NDA, for years, an agreement allegedly imposed by Rebecca's mother, Joni Lamb, and the leadership of Daystar. But this wasn't a typical NDA meant to protect company information. This one was sweeping in its scope, reaching into personal family matters, and most disturbingly, covering up a situation involving alleged child sexual abuse within the family. The abuser, referred to as Pete, was a trusted family member who allegedly engaged in inappropriate behavior toward baby Lamb, Rebecca's niece. The NDA prevented Rebecca and JW from speaking about the abuse, even though they had directly witnessed troubling actions that made it clear something was terribly wrong. This silence was not just a legal formality. It was a source of deep emotional pain. Watching their family suffer while being legally bound to stay quiet took a heavy toll on both Rebecca and JW. They knew what they had seen. They knew what was happening. But the threat of legal consequences, and, more personally, the risk of being disowned or financially ruined, kept them from speaking out. At one point, Rebecca's sister Rachel even warned that if they broke the NDA, they could lose their home. These weren't just idle threats. They were very real pressures designed to keep them compliant. Throughout this ordeal, Rebecca wrestled with intense internal conflict. Her upbringing taught her to be loyal to her family and her faith, but her conscience told her that protecting the innocent was more important. Still, the fear of what would happen if she spoke out was paralyzing. Daystar was not just a television network. It was the public face of the Lamb family's ministry, their legacy. And yet, behind closed doors, that legacy was tainted by secrets that threatened to unravel everything. For a long time, Rebecca and JW were alone in their struggle. They watched as Jonathan and Susie Lamb tried to protect their daughter baby Lamb, but even they were caught in the tangled web of family loyalty and public image. The Lambs had built an empire on Christian values, and admitting that such a horrific crime had taken place under their watch would have devastating consequences. So, instead of facing the truth, the family buried it under silence. That silence, however, was finally broken with the passage of a groundbreaking law in Texas, known as Trey's Law, named after a young boy who was also a victim of child abuse. This legislation made it illegal to use NDAs to prevent victims or witnesses from speaking out in cases involving child sexual abuse. The law recognized that protecting children must always come before protecting reputations or institutions. For Rebecca and JW, Trey's Law was a turning point. It lifted the legal restraints that had bound them and gave them the freedom to finally speak out about what they had witnessed. The implications of Trey's Law extend far beyond Rebecca's case. For years, NDAs have been used to silence victims and shield abusers, especially in powerful families, corporations, or religious organizations. These agreements have allowed predators to continue their behavior unchecked, while victims and their families were forced to live in fear and shame. By making NDAs unenforceable in child abuse cases, Trey's Law gives victims a voice. It's a bold step toward justice, one that acknowledges that the truth should never be hidden by a signature on a piece of paper. As Rebecca and JW stepped into the light, they did so with full awareness of the risks involved. They knew that speaking out would damage the family's public image. and potentially collapse the Daystar empire. But they also knew that remaining silent would mean becoming complicit in an injustice. For Rebecca, the moral cost of silence had become too great. She could no longer carry the burden of knowing what had happened to baby Lamb and doing nothing about it. Rebecca's journey was not only about revealing abuse, but also about reclaiming her integrity and honoring her faith in a way that aligned with truth and justice. She had always been taught to believe in forgiveness and redemption, but forgiveness does not mean ignoring wrongdoing, especially when it involves the safety of a child. Her faith became her strength, guiding her through the fear and uncertainty of going against her own family. JW played a crucial role in this story as well. He had seen inappropriate behavior firsthand and had written a letter to Rebecca's brother, Jonathan, expressing his concerns about Pete. In the letter, he detailed disturbing interactions that made it clear baby Lamb was in danger. But even with this information, the family appeared unwilling to confront the truth. The priority seemed to be keeping the scandal from going public, rather than addressing the abuse. It was a devastating realization for JW and Rebecca, who had hoped that exposing the truth internally might lead to action. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more video.